I'm not sure I want to chase. I'm not sure I want to deal prospects away.
Why?
I think there's some fundamental issues with this team that may not be solvable with marginal deals.
But that's the point, is because a marginal deal indicates a specific need. When they traded for Jeimer Candelario last year, they had a specific need for consistent slug.
And he's been better than their third base options.
But when you don't have a single 500 slugger on your team, the Brewers, the last game of the series against the White Sox, maybe it were the Cubs, and maybe it was 2 games ago, they had like 3 500 sluggers in their lineup. One of them had a small sample size. Like you have to have, to me at least, like, I said 500 earlier. I re-amended that after I was looking and doing some research, obviously, last night. It's got to be like at least 3 450. You know, you have to have at least 3 in the 450 range in order to get any sort of productivity out of a lineup these days.
What I don't like overall is whenever we get into the idea of the prospect humping, we allow teams to not try and win. And I'm sick of allowing Jed not trying to win. It's time for them to be in a position where they're trying to win games. You made your move by bringing in your manager that seems to understand what some of your problems are, like some of the roster problems are.
And you got a bargain on Bellinger. So they're going to tout the idea of, well, look what we spent on Cody Bellinger. You really didn't spend all that much.
You didn't spend a lot, and you probably would have been better off doing a package of other Boris clients since you were so happy about getting a good deal on Bellinger. They have built an incomplete team. And I would challenge not Judd's knowledge, but I would challenge the results of how he puts teams together. If the goal is to put a strong defensive team, you're asking a lot for what's an aging shortstop. I mean, you gave us a 7-year deal to an aging shortstop that has a lot of Luol Deng minutes him.
It's also the difference
There's
between...
a comp I didn't expect.
If you look at Dansby Swanson's game log, he played minutes like a 20-year-old Luol Deng.
There's a comp I didn't expect. Dansby Swanson and Luol Deng. I like it.
It's also the difference between a career 5 WAR player and a career 4 WAR player.
And you got a bunch of fours.
That's exponential.
You got a bunch of fours, and that's pretty good, but you don't have a 5.
The Cubs put together a World Series team that had 3 career 5 WAR position players. That was considered the formula. I don't know what this formula is.
Well, the part of the problem, though, is that the guys that they have, and this is, Dan and I talk about this a lot when it comes to Nico Hoerner, is there any more slug in him? Because you got to start.
He's got a broken hand.
Well,
so
and that's another issue. Like that's another thing of you're putting a player out there. Now, Counsell said that Hoerner went through an exhaustive batting practice session, and as long as there's no swelling, he's gonna be in the lineup today. But you would think that anyone who has a broken bone in their hand might not be best suited to hit. Something that I was talking about, we were looking up before the meeting started today, is it's a small thing. And I know that it's my thing, and I know that I'm...
No, this is good. This is good.
That I'm the Madrigal guy. Did they waste time with Nick Madrigal versus David Bote? David Bote is a half a WAR better than Nick Madrigal already.
I've been talking about David Bote since spring training. We brought him up on this show.
Like the thing that's wild to me is,
and I got told he's in the minor leagues for a reason.
Almost a full win on F4.
If with Madrigal, all the things that you think he is that he isn't, but what I do know about him is he doesn't really offer you even the opportunity for slug. If you look at David Bote's career, even at the major league level, he offers you way more slug than what Madrigal does, and there's no dip. He's a better base runner and a better defender and plays multiple positions. You had him in the minors, and I know the injury is a big part of it, but you looked at the two players. You looked at those two guys and their careers in the major leagues and said, we're going to ride with Madrigal again. And it took your new manager walking in and being like, this guy's,
but that was
he's
also
trying real hard, but that's not winning baseball.
But that was also their defensive principle. That was their mission statement. Their mission statement was to prioritize defense. It's why they had to amend it when they DFA'd Tucker Barnhart. They wanted a spine of the defense.
He's not that good at defense, though.
But that was their thought. That was their discussion. That was their argument, correct? And the reason I bring up the double play stat is because it proves to you what you're seeing. This is the spine of the defense. You cannot give teams extra outs. Even if they're the last place in the AL East, you still can't give them extra outs because it will burn you.
But I'm just trying to figure out, like, maybe there is something wrong in the way that they're going about scouting this, because I don't understand how you could look at the two players and go, that's a major league player. That's a guy who's going to languish in the minors. I don't know how you could look at the two guys and look, even if we're talking about past performance, and say that guy deserves to be on the roster and that guy doesn't. That tells me that there's a deficiency in how you're going about doing this.
I mean, to me, you also depended on streaky hitters to be consistent. Like, you forget how much Patrick Wisdom carried you in the first part of the season last year. You forgot how much Christopher Morel offensive may have carried you.
Yan Gomes.
Bingo. You're not getting any offense out of the catcher's position. That is something, Dan, that is league-wide. The problem of catching offense and catching talent and the dearth that there is in baseball.
Unless you're Will Smith.
That is an established league-wide problem. But there are outliers that prove that this is a problem that is clearly applicable to this team.
If you can give me a 100 WRC plus as a catcher and be a plus defender, you're
billions
that's
of
great.
dollars
That's
right
great.
now.
That's great.
Like, you're a cornerstone of a franchise. They have to re-sign you. It's like having a 5-war shortstop.
The other problem they have, and this is what's interesting in some of the data that Northside Baseball put together, is your Gold Glovers up the middle. Your Gold Glovers both have bad arms. It isn't just Swanson.
Does that not speak to the stat we opened the show with?
Nico, well, this is what they were indicating, is that even though they are getting to balls.
Doesn't speak to the base runners relieving on first?
The base runners on first.
Yes.
Yes, they're struggling, and in large part, the propagative effect of having to cover your left because Morel is there. And everything is stretched out, which means some of these both throws get longer.
He was like this in Atlanta, though, too.
But what I'm saying is he could make up for it because you had plus defense at third there, where his starting point of his throws in general, whether or not it's to start a double play or throw to first, wasn't as far to his right.
I think that it is an element of some of the issues with Dansby Swanson. I don't think it is the major cause.
No.
I think that you're talking about age and probably injury, along with diminishing skills, which is something that it doesn't feel like they took into account.
But the reason we're drilling down on this is all because 2 runs is not enough even against that last place team.
You better get some slug, and Morel is one of the only people that can give you that.
And the Cubs may have not had complete teams in years prior where they were playoff contenders, but at least they knew what they were. Boy, do I have a stat for y'all.
Okay.
Thanks to the listener who pointed this out first, but unfortunately we added to it. The Sox over their last 30 games prior to last night.
Okay.
8-22. The Cubs over their last 30 games after the loss to the Rays. 10-20. The only 2-game difference there is
the game against the White Sox.
Crosstown. Do you know who else is also 8-22 over their last 30, and that rounds out the lowest 3 records over their last 30 games in baseball?
The Oakland A's.
Bingo, 8-22.
Because at one point, I think Oakland was 17-16, and then they just went.
So one team where I'm not sure how they're losing, but they're hinting at it. One team where they weren't supposed to lose, and the other one is supposed to lose, and they're playing in Sacramento. Sorry, Sacramento.
Yeah.